And what is up, YouTube? We are back with a standard special episode here today. We're only a couple hours away from a bunch of the leagues ending as their proper timeline concludes. This includes the Incursion League as well as the Incursion Flashback League. And so I was thinking today just about sharing a couple of tips that I try to follow as I am prepping for stuff to move over to Standard. Now, of course, this is a Standard special episode. A whole bunch of you don't even care about Standard, and so that's great. A bunch of people that don't like to play Standard, they just get rid of their stuff. They don't care about it, they don't touch it, it migrates to Standard, and they never care about it or worry about it whatsoever. So if that's you, this isn't the video for you, because we're going to talk just briefly 3 tips to prep for migrating stuff to Standard, just in case you'll ever want to use that stuff again. Now, of course, there are lots of reasons why people play in Standard, lots of reasons why people migrate their characters and their wealth and their items over to Standard. The 2 things that I primarily use Standard for are testing out builds as well as just doing crazy crafting things. Those are primarily the 2 things that I use Standard for, because I've got all this currency that's accumulated, all these different items that are accumulated, all these different types of fragments and essences and div cards that are accumulated, and maps that are accumulated, and characters that are accumulated. So since everything migrates over to Standard and ends up there, might as well use Standard as some sort of basis for testing new things. And typically there's about 2 to 3 days in between a league to a new league where you can test stuff out in Standard. And as patch notes are released and that sort of thing, of course you want to use Path of Building, which we've done a PoE tools video on how to use that and the bonuses and the reasons why you would use that. But of course, next to playing the game, Path of Building is the best thing to use for testing things out. But of course, if you can test things out in game, that's the best. Which of course, there's always changes to the passive tree that you have to take into consideration. But since every new league, whenever there's changes to a passive tree, you get a free reset on all of your characters in Standard. It's really, really nice to have characters and then items available in Standard for you to theory craft or play with. For whatever reason, really. Just maybe if you're having fun, or if you're looking to try a new build, or if you just want to make a meme build. Maybe someday you're like, hey, I wonder how many ballistas I could have up. I'm going to make a meme ballista build. Or, hey, how many traps can I have out at one time? Or whatever. Hey, I'm going to make the fastest character possible. Blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot of different options that you can have, and to say that Standard is useless just is not looking at the various options that are there. So 3 quick points today in prepping for Standard. So first off, you want to organize your tabs before Standard migration. That's just one of the things that you want to do. You want to organize everything as much as possible prior to the migration. So this means you're going to want to go through each of your tabs that you have inside your stash, and to the best of your ability, you're going to want to sort those tabs. So for instance, here I've got a bunch of these different tabs that are here in Incursion League, and we're just looking like I've got the Walmart Special. That's where I do a lot of my trading. That's where I actually put high price stuff. Immortal Sales, that's where I put even higher price stuff a lot of the time. Then I've just got like a bunch of 5 Chaos Sales. These are all like corrupted Tomb Fists. And I've got my Lore Weave tab where I'm collecting a bunch of unique rings. And I've just got random flasks on sale for way too much chaos. A bunch of jewels in here that's just buy out a couple exalts. Then we've got other stuff, right? We've got, hey, I was leveling a ranger. If I'm leveling new characters again, then I've got stuff here. Then of course you've got a bunch of just random items that are rare items that are sorted down here. So you can kind of see as I'm looking at my stash tab, as I quickly look at my stash tab, I know where everything's at. So I'm going to know when I look in Standard, hey, what is this tab and what is the name of this tab and what's the color of this tab indicate? You're going to want to make sure that your tabs are broken up so that way you're actually going to recognize them. So for instance, typically I use the white background on premium tabs to actually, whoops, let's move this here really quick. There we go. Typically I use the white tabs to indicate an open tab, and an open tab is just an empty tab. But I've got a bunch of these here that are like buyout 1X or buyout 1 Chaos, and those are also white tabs. So that's going to confuse me moving over to migration. Again, we're talking about like some really OCD stuff here, like really, really nitty gritty organizational stuff. But if you're able to do this, it's going to make the transition a lot smoother. So you want to organize your stash tabs before standard migration. Before the end of the league, you want your stash tabs in such a place that when you click on a tab, you automatically know what's instantly in that tab, what belongs in that tab, and you can identify when something doesn't belong in that tab, and you can pull it out immediately. All right, so the second thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to empty out all possible tabs to open. So I've got a couple of these tabs here that are nearly empty. You can see this is like nearly empty. This is the 6 times squad tab. Or 6 times tab. And you can see here, like, there's some stuff, but like, hey, these uniques could go in the unique tab. Divine Vessel can go in the fragment. These can go in the uniques. Here's some belts. They can go over there. Here's some more accessories like that are uniques. Those could all go into a unique tab, and it'd be great. And then this would be open and available for me to transition stuff over later on, and it won't come over as a remove only tab with just like a handful of junk in it. So you want to empty out as many possible different tabs. Here's another example. I've got a bunch of maps here. Unfortunately, these are all burial maps. My burial chambers, I think, are full. Yeah, I'm full. So I would need to run a bunch of these in order for these burial chambers to run away. But anyway, so it's just another example of you want to empty it out, because otherwise this is going to migrate over into standard and it's going to be a remove only tab, and I'm probably never ever going to touch it. And these maps are never going to be able to fit into my map tab unless I want to run these 18 or so maps that are right here. Okay, so you want to empty out all possible tabs to open. Then lastly, the third thing, you want to strip whatever characters you are deleting after the league. So my goal is always to have one type of character for each ascendancy class. That's always my goal as I'm playing PoE. That's kind of like my eventual end game goal, as it were, like big mega goal for playing PoE, for the entirety of my PoE playing days. And so if you see in standard, I've got a bunch of these different classes. I've got an assassin, I've got your Deadeye, I've got the trickster, I've got a pathfinder, I've got a juggernaut. Anyway, so I'm nearing my goal to have one character of every ascendancy sitting over there in standard. So that way, whenever I do want to test something on a different ascendancy, I've just got a ready-made option to test it over in standard. But for anything that I'm not going to bring over, so for instance, in Incursion, I've already got a wonderful Deadeye sitting in standard. So I'm going to want to take the stuff from the Deadeye over into standard. I don't want to get rid of that stuff, but I don't need to have multiple Deadeyes taking up character slots in standard. Similarly, if I have a Gladiator, which I don't think I have a Gladiator, I think this league was one of the reasons why I was playing Gladiator. Yeah, I don't have a Gladiator. So similarly, I'm going to check and see, hey, I'm going to keep the Gladiator. I'm not going to delete him. But I've actually started to strip some of the stuff from him simply because I'm not going to be playing him, obviously, because he'll be in standard. We're all going to play Delve in a few leagues. So I've started to strip stuff from the character, so that way we can take a look here and see what I've already started to strip. By taking those items off of the character, and you can see he's kind of already half naked. He's missing his gloves, he's missing his amulets, his accessories, his belts. He's got stuff on him, but it's not going to be stuff that he's ever going to use again, unless, of course, I come up with a custom build that I want to test out. So you want to strip your characters of whatever it was that they were using. And if they're decent items, then of course you're actually going to want to keep those items and throw them somewhere where they make sense in standard, whether that's in your character slot or in your blender slot. Like if you've got a blender tab, I call it a blender tab because it's kind of where you dump all of your ingredients that you may want to use later on or in the future as you're making a new mix for your characters. That's just why I call it a blender tab. Anyway, so you're going to want to strip everything off of them, so that way, should you choose to delete the character, you're not losing any of your investment from the league. And then secondly, you've got those items as an option should you want them on another character if you're testing that out in standard. All right, so those are 3 simple tips for prepping migration for a league. If you're not able to do it before the migration of a league, that's okay. The league is going to end. Everything goes over to standard. And it just means that you're going to have a little bit more to sort through if you are interacting in standard. Of course, you can leave us a comment down below. What are your organizational tips? What do you do to prep as you transition from a league into standard? Leave us a comment down below. Let us know. Maybe some of you have come up with some better organizational tips or some ideas. Love to hear that from you all as a community. And of course, if I've made any mistakes, I'm sure you guys are going to let me know down in the comments below. We're only 4 days away. Well, kind of like 3.5. Anyway, we're a couple days away from Delve League, so get hype and get excited because for the next couple of days, we're going to be messing around in standard, and then we've got new Delves, so get hype.